Hello again, and here we go, Year 11 Statistics. We're going to do some simulations in Google Sheets. Now, this one is a nice easy one. We're going to be tossing two dice, and we're going to recording the sum of the values observed. Okay, so the top face of the die, whatever that number is, we're going to add them together, and we're going to observe the outcome and work out over a large number of trials what's the relative frequency. Alright, so we can start, once we set that up, you can ask yourself some things about the experiment, such what is the approximate proportion of observing a sum of scores of 7, for instance, and so on. So let's get it going. So in our Google Sheet here, start off with a nice little heading. What we want to do is set up some digital dice. Now, the best way to do that is using a rand between function. Rand between, there it is. So rand between selects a random number, an integer, between, let's say, 1 and 6, and that's the numbers on a dice. 1 and 6. Okay, so let's center that. Let's increase it, make it a little bit bigger. Alright. Okay, so there's our dice. So I'm going to shake my dice and roll it. Very simple. Okay. So I've got two dice. Let's roll them. Perfect. Okay, so we're interested in knowing the sum. What is the sum of those two dice? So in that case it's 4. Alright, well let's, what happens if we, rolling our dice, our two dice, and recording the sum, what's the chances or the proportions of the different scores we can get? Well, what we're going to look at is simulating the experiment by working out the sum of two dice from many times. So what we're going to do is set up a formula where we have two rand between functions, 1 to 6, so there's one dice, one die there, plus we're going to do it again, so that gives us the sum of our two die. Okay, rand between and plus rand between functions, 1 to 6, 1 to 6. Okay, so now it gives you the sum of the two die there. Okay, so we've got an 8. So let's go about repeating this experiment a number of times. So easy way to do that, let's go across the screen like so. Okay, and then down. And we've repeated it many times. Okay, let's do a lot of rolling the dice. So I'm going to copy that and then press my little shortcut key to go down to the last row. Control, Shift, and down. There it is. And let's paste. And there we have it. Well, let's go down to 1000. So we remember that's the very last row that we've simulated all our rolling two die and working out the sum. So press Control up to get back to the top. Okay, so there's our simulation of finding the sum of two dice. Very good. Now we're interested in working out what is the frequencies of the different outcomes we can get. So if we had the sum of two dice, then what kind of values can we get? Can we get a 0? No. The sum of two dice is a 1 as a possible? No. The smallest value when we add two dice together is a 2. 1 plus 1 gives you 2. So that's the smallest value we have for that outcome. And then there's a 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, up to the last is a 12. 6 plus 6 gives you 12. There's all the outcomes. Okay, let's work out what's the frequency that we've achieved for each outcome. So this is a count if statement. So we go count if. Okay, So what we're going to do is cover the whole simulation. So we've got to come up with our large range. So the first cell in the range is our A4. Okay, now the last cell in the range, well, it goes up to a J in the column, and we went all the way down to 1,000. So J, there it is, highlighted, 1,000. Voila. Okay. So now let me just shimmy across to get more of, so we can see what's going on there. Let's fix this up. There we go. Alright, so that's the range. Now what are we counting? What are we interested in counting? Well, we're interested in counting when the sum was a 1 to start off with, which is in that cell, a 2. When the sum of two dice is a 2. 1 plus 1. So there it is. Okay, so now if I hit enter and drag down, I've got a little problem, don't I? Because the range reference isn't fixed, and I've got to use my dollar signs. There it is. Okay. So now it's fixed. What I'm going to do is click and drag. And let Google Sheets have a little think. Thinking. There's my bar. Thinking. Come on, Google. There it is. And that gives my frequency distribution there. Alright, let's get the relative frequency, which is close to the theoretical probability over in the long run, over a large number of trials. And this time we've got quite a few trials. Okay, so relative frequency. Alright, so the relative frequency is rather easy now. We're going to first have the frequency count, but now we divide by our total number of trials. Alright, now how many do we have, total number of trials? Alright, well, we've got to count them. So we're going to use our count function. Okay, and we're going to count the range that we're looking at. And that is from, the first one was A4, that's the starting cell of the range, down to J, all the way to 1,000. Okay, and that's the full range that we're going to count. And let's fix that range with with the dollar sign. So if we copy and paste, it doesn't change that. There we go. And there's a percentage type value. And copy that down. Google Sheets having a little think. Whoop. And I think we did it. Alright, that looks not too bad. So let's just fix those values so it's more appropriate. Okay. Now, how do I know if that's correct? Well, what we should have is our relative frequency in this probability table. The total sum of all the probabilities listed in as the relative frequencies here, well, they should sum up to 1. The total allocation of all probability is up to 100%. So let's just do a little check. Sum of all those values, and what do we get? Yes, we do. We get 1. There it is. So it is correct. Yeah. Fantastic. Now, numbers are great, but let's have a look at this graphically. So let's go about producing a sketch of the sum of the dice. So there's the outcomes, and it's their corresponding relative frequency. So let's insert our chart. Now, Google Sheets usually recommends a histogram for these, but I'm suspecting the way I rearranged it is not so friendly. So let's get this histogram up and running shortly. And voila, and there we have it. And our relative frequency plot here showing a nice symmetrical distribution where the most probable outcome is the sum of two dice is getting a 7. So I want you to think about how many different outcomes is that. Alright, well done.